Hello, everyone. It's Marche Pratt from NAMI, California. I am the Vice President of Workforce and Community Engagement, and I'm so thrilled to be one of the lead organizers for our statewide annual conference. We put this podcast series together to share with you all what you have to look forward to when you come to conference and to experience our speakers in a more personal way so that you match a name and a face when you come in the door and know the quality of speakers that you're getting. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with two people today who will be presenting together about a local initiative here in Sacramento. So let me share a little about each of them, and then we'll get into their background and what they're going to be sharing with us. Maisha Helton, affectionately known as Mai, is a licensed and ordained minister, entrepreneur, and community advocate. She has owned It's My Hair for over 14 years and brings more than 26 years of expertise as a licensed cosmetologist. A devoted wife and proud mother of 3 young adults, Maisha also hosts a recurring segment on Good Day Sacramento, where she has shared her passion for beauty and community for the past 14 years. Beyond the salon chair, Mai is committed to serving her community, hosting mental health groups, back to school backpack giveaways, and even medical clinics at her salon. She's a lover of Chinese food, an avid fitness enthusiast, and finds peace in reading and reflection. Everything she does is rooted in faith, purpose, and the desire to uplift others. Her co-conspirator today, also known as the co-presenter for this workshop, is Ronnie Cobb, a native of Jackson, Tennessee, proud graduate of the Hiram W. Johnson High School in Sacramento, California State University Sacramento School of Business, Human Resources, Stingers Up, men's basketball team. He was also a member of that at Sac State and was recognized as who's who among America's top professionals. He's also, you wouldn't be surprised to know that he's a head boys basketball coach at TR Smegberg in Elk Grove Unified School District, a recipient of Sacramento's Difference Maker Award, creative director of short films Here Lies the Truth 1 and 2, currently National Director of Employee Relations for Search Pro Staffing, and a co-host of It's Just My Opinion podcast with Maisha Helton, and proud father of the gems in his crown. Is it Sarah Lynn, Kyle, and Drew? Did I get that right?
Well,
All right,
very good.
excellent.
Very good.
So one of the things that I was most excited about talking to the two of you about is how you convince the community to talk about mental health. Because we know, especially in the African American community, we haven't always been forthcoming with how we're doing mentally. We like to keep that very close within the family, within our village. We very rarely speak in public to strangers about how we're feeling. So I'm curious to know how your initiative came to be and how did you get people to come in the room and open up and share?
Well, it's funny, and thank you so much for having us here. I think back to 2.5 years ago or so where the concept was brought to me at the Urban League just to talk about what could we possibly do to get people that look like us to come together and talk about mental health. And the concept was pitched that what about beauty salons and barbershops where people are already going to be? We're already talking about things in there. Having an uncle who's had a shop for 55 years, personally, I knew the best and worst advice came out of barbershops. So it's neat if we can get people who are already there to talk about some topics that we needed to talk about and then add some professionals to sort of solidify the information that we were sharing. Lo and behold, cut to the chase, then cut to the chase. The Crown Edition for the ladies sort of was birthed. And it gave us a chance to go out and meet with people like Maya. I think we interviewed probably 10 different shops and salons just to find out who could create the best atmosphere, the safest place, the most professional environment that we could send people to and they wouldn't be disappointed by what they found. And thankfully, mine was one of the 2 salons that we located, and then 2 other barbershops in Sacramento allowed us to do the same thing. And as they say, the rest is history.
And for you, Mai, how did you, it seems like you were already kind of doing this work. I think being an ordained minister, you probably have people coming to you in crisis already, but perhaps your stylist may not have the same expertise as you do when it comes to dealing with people in crisis. So how has this really helped you to support the needs of the people that you serve in your salon?
Yeah, thank you for having us. Also, I just feel like as a hairstylist, you get to hear everyone's, life, their troubles, their problems, things of that nature. So as hairstylists, we're really good listeners, right? And we tend to hear, things that maybe people won't even share with their therapist. It takes years for that to be shared with their therapist, their life partner, or best friends, or whatever the case may be. But this particular program, when it was presented to me by Ronnie, it was one of those things like, wow, that's amazing. Let's see what happens. And from the beginning, like from day one, we had about 48 women show up into our salon space. And I think that was their attitude, like, let's see what happens. Like, let's see what this is all about, mental health, coming together for some sort of therapy. I want to see what it's about. And it was really about setting the atmosphere. And then the conversation kind of took on wings, especially being navigated by a therapist through that conversation. So it was easy in one sense, but in another sense, it was like taking on the growth of what could possibly be, and it took a collective effort for that to happen.
I'm also wondering, and it's great that people came and they were excited, but with any new thing, you have lots of people coming the first time, and
Yeah.
then sometimes it's hard to get them to come back again and again. So, what do you think has been the draw for people to continue to come and come together?
Yeah, I think it was because it was something new, as well as anytime something is well organized, that makes a difference. And also, people's time is very valuable, right? So, with them seeing that there was something that they took away from that moment, whether it was sisterhood, whether it's being heard, or seeing that, hey, I'm not the only one that's going through something in life. I'm not the only one that feels this way. Or I just want to come to a space where I can feel accepted or heard. So, that draws them back, to be completely honest with you. Plus, we feed them while they're here, right?
I mean, that's what we do.
Yes.
We're feeding people in multiple ways, right?
Yes,
Spiritually, physically, emotionally. We're trying to
correct.
to feed people as best we can, and we're communal folks. We love the food. May get people there, but to keep them there, like you said, it's really the relationships, the atmosphere that you've set, the trust that's been
Yeah,
built in the community as well. One of the misconceptions about NAMI is that we're only available to people who have serious mental illness, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and so forth, when really we're available to everyone, anyone that's having a crisis, anyone that needs support. And we're also particularly interested in giving people hope. Because without that, it's really challenging to navigate this world. And sometimes people have suicidal ideation and other types of things come to play if they don't have that support in place. And I know, Ronnie, you had shared with us that you have some personal experience tied to suicide. I wonder if you might share how that lived experience really informed your commitment to this mental health project.
I think a big part of it and his mindset too, getting people to come continuously has been based on the topics that have been very down to earth, and they were exactly where people were. So we met them at the door with the things that they were dealing with in real life. If we saw something like, if we're talking about the economy and we have the anxiety and stresses of the election, and we focus a specific topic on that time, that day, and how we were feeling about that, you couldn't hide from that topic because even if you didn't talk about it out loud, you were feeling the repercussions of what was going on. I think also, uh, just in regards to creating an environment, a space, you talk about suicide. I was on my way to work a few years ago, and my president now also called me and said, "You wouldn't believe what just happened. One of our staff members had committed suicide." Before I can get off the phone, my line rang, and my son Cobb, that was in Hollywood at that time, he called to let me know one of their best friends had committed suicide in Sacramento within a 30-minute period. My younger son Drew called me on the other line because he had just heard about that same young man, and it was all about the impact of his death. And I remember going back and changing the topic that time with how to deal with loss. Because it didn't matter. We were talking about jobs, we were talking about economic situations, we were talking about people's financial stability at times like these, and we simply switched the topic completely for that particular month, and it was about how to deal with loss. And there was nobody that could hide from it because one way or the other, everybody was feeling something by definition, one way or the other. So I think for me personally, I never would have thought that loss prior to coming to do this particular project would have resonated so much because it became very real. And I got to see it in one day how it impacted hundreds of families for a whole lot of different reasons. And so it's very, the initiative is very personal because it's just real life stuff we're all dealing with.
Yes. And along those same lines, I recall you mentioning to me that your son has an academy that he runs for young athletes. And I was talking recently to someone who was a former college athlete who had a season ending and ended up being a career ending injury that led to a very deep depression, and that he struggled to find the services that he needed within the athletic department and ended up reaching outside of there to get support. And I wonder what interactions you might have had or your son might have had since this project started with youth that are interested in the engaging in these kinds of conversations, especially student athletes who seem to have a lot of extra pressure on them in certain aspects, being in the spotlight, especially if they're a star on the team or very well known, and then you get injured or something else may happen, and then all of a sudden you're riding the bench and no one's mentioning your name, nobody's cheering for you
Right.
anymore. It might have a negative effect on your mental health. So I just wondered if this project has helped inform either what you do in your coaching or what your son does in his academy.
For me as a coach, we actually, before we start the season in conditioning, we have a conversation with all the parents on the 70 to 100 kids that we try out for the team. And we talk about their mental stability. My mom has preached the word balance my entire life. You know, no matter how much I was recruited, no matter what scouts came to the house, no matter what packages were offered, she said his life has got to be balanced and it won't be emphasized on just the sport. And she was adamant about that because she knew we could compete and perform at a high level. But she also knew from watching my stepbrothers before me, who were some of the top athletes in the world, the disappointment they had when promises weren't kept, things were changed. You know, one coach is there one day, another coach is another day. So we really emphasize the importance of it's more than just a game. We're going to teach life when we come to practice. We even call our June 7th period. This is another classroom. If you don't get to play for us, you'll be better from just being around us, is our whole philosophy. On the flip side of that, though, I look at my son with Drew with Elevation Athletics. He's now added a mental health component to his training academy. So if he even does a camp, one of our therapists will go to the camp. And at halftime, instead of having your traditional entertainment, the therapist will talk to the kids and their families about how they're really doing. You know, because some people will spend their last $50, $100 to come to a camp. And on the way home, there's no money to buy groceries nor gas. And
Mhm.
then there's this anxiety and stress and pressure put back on the kid that you better perform because I'm giving you all I've got to do this. And I was never taught that, ever. If anything, my mother said, put on some sunblock and don't be out in that sun getting all burned up. You know, that was her emphasis. And then they came to the game to support me because I was going to do what I was going to do. And so to take the pressure off these kids, and we often remind the parents that they're from your DNA. So if you never performed at that level, don't expect them to. Or if you did, don't expect them to because two other people made this baby. And it really makes parents back up and say, man, thank you. Because I was expecting, you know, it's just, it's not realistic sometimes. And 1% are going to make it to the level of where my son has played. You know, very few play in a Division I top everything. And he was 17, you know, and that's a lot of pressure in itself because he was 13 when he started doing it in high school. But realistically, it was always asked, do you want to perform at a high level or do you just want to be on the team? Because if you just want to play and have fun, just have fun. So that pressure was never there. So we've really incorporated that in everything. And I'm proud to watch his academy do it because when those therapists come out, the parents didn't come for that until they'd heard about it. Then they realized, man, I need some help myself. I'm going through something. Okay. We got a place to send you now. So
Mhm.
it's been eye opening in a lot of ways.
That's so great. I'm so glad that it's having this ripple effect in other areas, because we're impacting so many lives just with the people you're talking to, and hopefully they're talking to other people and their families, and it just continues on. I was wondering if you could share, because I was so caught up and excited that you all were here. I didn't even say the name of the projects that you all are working on. So could you share the name? And then also, I wonder if you could comment on a stereotype in our community of the strong Black woman and how we're these super women that can do everything and carry everything. And if any of the people that attend the workshops at your salon ever talk about that and the pressure of trying to be that superwoman or having that Black girl magic or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
that people think that we don't have those vulnerable times where we do need support.
Yeah. So the name of the program that we host at the salon is called Cut to the Chase Crown Edition, which takes place every fourth Thursday here at the salon from 6 to 7:30. So it's a really great conversation. There's a topic of discussion, and then that is navigated through the therapist, but just really as well as by the participants. So we have had a topic the strong Black woman syndrome per se, but a lot of women are saying, I want to live in my soft girl era, right? Like it's okay to be strong, but at the same time, we have vulnerable moments, right? And it's not so much attached to being Black, but sometimes you just want to be vulnerable. Sometimes you want to be frustrated without looking or being tagged angry, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Sometimes you want to say something passionately without someone being intimidated because of the color of your skin or the stature of yourself, right? And so that is a big pressure that is on Black women within the workspace, within corporate America that they talk about with microaggressions and things
mhm,
of that nature and how to navigate through that, right? We also talk about imposter syndrome, right? So some women feel as though they don't feel like well, number one, representation matters, but they're the only ones within that field or within that space. And so they're looked on to as the Black woman advocate or the Black person that can just speak for all Black people, per
mhm,
se. Um, that's a totally different pressure that comes on you too. So not only do you have to perform in excellence, right? You have to be the representative for all Black people.
mm,
You have to navigate and present yourself or your thoughts or your concerns in a way that is not intimidating, that is not going to look as though you're angry. And even when you project yourself in a sort of softness, but astute or an expert, it just depends on the other person on the end of that, how they want to portray you or receive you, you know? So it's balancing all of that, that as Black women, we have to navigate. And so we need to come into a space, which is why we have it at It's My Hair Salon, to where we can just kind of let our hair down. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Express these thoughts, express these concerns, express how it makes us feel, and then go ahead and dust ourselves off
mhm.
and then jump back into it. So spaces like this are very necessary, and for it to be a safe space is like amazing. And so I think that's what's made our salon thrive in this mental health space.
Mhm.
And Ronnie, in the barbershops that you work with, was there any backlash from the community? Were you fully embraced at first? What was the response? Because I know that, again, we have television shows and others. You know, LeBron James has his barbershop show and this and that, but they don't always necessarily focus on mental health. Although it does seem to come up somewhere along these conversations that we're hearing among Black men now being more free to talk about their mental health. DeMar DeRozan and several others have been very vulnerable in sharing their journey. So I wonder if the community, what was their initial response and how have you continued to keep them engaged?
I think a big part of it was being able to identify shops that were having similar dialogue already. The thing I brought back to our staff was that we want to identify places that, with or without us, are going to do this work very good. They're already in, they're having such conversations. We're going to add some clinical expertise, some medical support to solidify what the conversation is. So it's not just an opinion all the time. But never backlash. I think the main thing is when I look at somewhere like even Tapers, the guys, they trusted the interaction because they had watched me do what I do already, just as a friend. And so when I said, what would you guys think about us having a place like this that we can talk about mental health out loud? It was quiet at first, and then it became, I think that'd be good. And when I found out the reason that so many were saying I think that would be good is because everybody was dealing with something. Especially post pandemic, it was really a touch and go kind of thing because many of them had lost a lot of things. They lost a lot of clients, and so to have a place we could come and talk about how we felt and where we fit in society as a result, it became a beautiful thing. The real good part about it too, though, is that the promises were kept because what my ear would do, I would just listen to what they were talking about and choose topics based on what I hear them say. Because if someone brought something up, I'd say, you know what, we're going to make that a topic and talk about it next month. They'd be like,
Mm,
really? So I said, but I need you to do one thing: invite some of your clients that you know need this too. And so that made it this domino thing where it became,
mhm,
oh, he said we're going to talk about it. I finally get to talk about it. We had to write rules because
mhm.
there were some people that when we brought that topic up, they wanted to elaborate on it for a
Right.
long time.
Mhm,
And so the rules helped them realize how to participate and not dominate, but it let them realize you now need to talk to a therapist because we realized this has hit something that means something to you. And it just, to watch it flow the way it did and being able to go and host for the ladies sessions and the men's was very beneficial for me because I got to hear the same topic in 4 different locations with similar responses and very different responses. And neither could believe there was a man or a woman who thought just like they did on the other side of the
mm.
fence. So that was enlightening. Going, oh, I thought all ladies were Oh, I thought all guys were, and it
Mhm.
became they're just like you. They're saying the same thing. So it was never any pushback. If anything, can we have another one next week?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I was
soon,
gonna say, it sounds like they wanna know more and want it to grow, and one of the things that I know we're trying to be mindful of as an organization is that we're not coming into communities to fix people or change people. We're coming to enhance the work that's already being done in the community. Are there particular organizations that have been extra helpful to you all in getting the word out about these projects? Um, are there other movements in Sacramento that are complementing the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so with this particular project, this is spearheaded by the Greater Sacramento Urban League, the one that we host in our salon. So we're grateful for the Urban League pushing this forward. But um, usually, like when you're posting something on social media, it kind of spreads like wildfire, right? And word of mouth is everything. So it's just really amazing that people who are receiving breakthroughs or experiencing something that they never experienced before, they're the greatest mouthpiece, to be completely honest.
testimony is
That
definitely
people, feel comfortable even saying, "I attended a group and this is what happened." 'Cause a lot of us, we can feel shame very easily, when we're talking about vulnerable things. So I'm really happy to hear that people are being bold and sharing what's going on, and hopefully that's empowering and encouraging other people, to do the same about their journey. So you all are leaders in this, you're doing a lot. What are you doing for your own self-care as you're caring for community members?
that's always the question of the millennial. Yeah, I think it's for me, it's very therapeutic to help people. You know, when I go through a session, I would ask them, "How many of you ever gone through a therapy session before?" And majority does not raise their hand. I said, "Well, you can raise your hand now. You just did." And they'll say, "That's what that was." And so I think for me, it's to help. It's to be reminded how we all need this because when you're preaching to the choir and the choir director, it's very. It makes you also evaluate yourself too, because you always hear yourself and other people. It always reminds me too that I'm very fortunate to not have gone through what so many people have, but then to realize sometimes it was a choice or an experience away from being just like somebody else too. And I think it's also helped me identify why I view some things the way I do. Because if I take it, it's like a domino. If you go back throughout your life to back to childhood, you can see why you position yourself and feel a certain way about different topics that you may have never even addressed before, good, bad, or indifferent. So for me personally, I think it's been beneficial to go, okay, now I get really why I'm so passionate about some of these things. And I also see why there's so many things I'm just completely against. And I can understand better why. I thought just I'm bringing being from the South, I used to say often, but it's a lot more than that too.
Mhm. And for you, Mai, what are you doing to take care of you? I heard in your bio you are a fitness enthusiast. Is that
Yeah.
one of the ways that you're taking good care of yourself?
My gosh, I really had to kind of turn to fitness to kind of like clear my mind, release extra energy. um, I probably should be a bodybuilder at this point, but honestly, yeah, fitness and I take myself out to eat a lot. I just
Okay.
love to just kind of be by myself, enjoy a new restaurant, find something good on the menu. There's a term in the world called leading while bleeding. And so many people who are advocates for community or do all kinds of stuff for people, we have problems and struggles too, right? And oftentimes they're leading while they're bleeding. So it's important to have your tribe, your accountability partners. It's okay to not be okay. And to be really honest with yourself, like, oh, today's not a good day. Should I go meditate? Should I go running? It's important to take those moments and that time to kind of recenter yourself and not just think that you're superwoman or superman and that you can do all things, but to really gird yourself with a surrounding cast, right? And not just be the star all the time. And that's a part of self-care as well.
Yes. I know one of the things that we try to emphasize at NAMI for our caregivers and family members is that you deserve respite care also. You deserve to
Yeah.
take a break. You deserve to put your oxygen mask on first and
Yes.
fortify yourself for the journey ahead because life is not always easy. There's crisis in your own life as well as the people that you're trying to care for. So if you had a message for people as we close our session, people that will be coming to the conference, maybe don't know anything about starting a group or being a part of a movement like this, but want to learn more, but maybe aren't necessarily Black or not necessarily living in Sacramento. What do you feel are some key things that your workshop will offer for people that are just curious and want to get more involved, but just don't know where to start?
I think for sure that you are going to receive encouragement. You're going to receive hope. You're going to receive some ideas for yourself, but also for your community at large, and that you're not in this alone, that there are way more people than we think out there that's wanting to see a better world, wanting to see us as individuals do great, and collaboration really helps. And so within that workshop, you're going to see how we navigate through a space just through conversation and how important conversations are. So when you're engaging in a conversation, it's important to be present. It's important to engage. It's important to have your listening ears because you will never know what transpires out of that. And I guarantee each one of you are going to get something out of our session that day.
Ronnie, anything to add?
I think it's always a pleasure to work with Maya because it's like your ideal teeter totter that there's always going to be balance in the room because of what we bring to the room individually and collectively. But I think a lot of times, these sessions to me are a lot like the pandemic. They don't discriminate. And so everybody has a mental health issue. Everybody has a crisis they've been in. Some people are doing really good and they need to celebrate and give themselves some grace too. So a lot of times when we leave these sessions, first and foremost, we're going to help them understand how to address mental health and mental health issues in non-traditional ways, because it's not about laying on a couch and someone holding a light over your head and making you feel like you've got all these issues. It's going to be able to sit there and the person next to you is going to say something. You're going to go, man. And the beauty is they're not all going to look the same, because I have very dear friends who are struggling with what ICE is doing, and they all are not brown. And there's some white people asking people, man, how do you deal with this? Thinking that maybe it's impacting me the same, because some kids, people have biracial children too. And so I think what the sessions will do, just like they do in the salons and the shop, there's going to be aha moments, maybe some tears shed. There's got to be some laughter because we make fun of the truth. So we have no problem making fun of things and people in a very lighthearted way to make what they're talking about being okay where it is. But it's going to be safe. It's going to be safe. It's going to be safe. It's going to be
All
safe.
right, everyone. Well, you heard it here. You're going to learn some active listening skills. You're going to have fun. You're going to laugh. You're going to learn. But most importantly, you're going to know that you're not alone and that we're here to support each other as caregivers, but we're also as advocates and other titles that we wear, but we're also here to take care of ourselves because we
Yes.
deserve that. We've earned that. And that's the only way we're going to be able to continue to do this work well and do it with excellence. So I thank our guests today for being here. I can't wait to see all of you at the
Yeah.
conference. Don't forget, Cut to the Chase Crown Edition. You're going to hear all the wonderful work that's being done and how you can possibly replicate this in your community, or share with others who may be interested in this type of out of the box, non traditional way of reducing the stigma around mental health and also sharing hope. We appreciate all of you and we'll see you soon. Take care.